Hi guys, Ivano here, and today I am ranking all of the support specs, so tanks and heals, for PvP as of patch 7.3.1, so we can find out which one of them is best for Warzones. Starting with the PT tank, also known as shield tech. Now PT tank has great damage. Superheated fuel, which is a pyrotactical, also works for shield tech, and that makes all of your abilities auto-crit for the duration of explosive fuel, which is great. Single target damage is also good with Payday, though it's not the best out of all the tanks. PT tank is great in melee games, has high AoE damage with heavy flamethrower, and a spammable healing debuff on flame sweep, which makes it very oppressive. Overall, I would rate it 8 out of 10 for damage. And of course, here we are assuming that you are playing a skank tank setup. If you want to see exactly how that works and what you need to run for that build, check out my shield tech guide, which I will link in the description below. Okay, shield tech is also very tanky. You get 25% free absorb from using Payday, and you have very strong defensive cooldowns. For example, you get 35% defense chance during explosive fuel, a 30% HP heal when energy yield expires. You get Call to Overload that heals you even above 35%, and of course you have your energy shield. On top of that, shield tech gets a bunch of additional damage reduction, absorb, and shield chance from the combat style tree passively. And of course they can run stealth scan, aka advanced Terminator droid, for a 20% accuracy debuff, so good luck hitting them if you are playing melee. Needless to say, they are very hard to kill, and I rate them a perfect 8 out of 8 for survivability. On the side of utility, they are also quite powerful. They do have 2 grapples, so that's a pull. Of course, Carbonize, the only AoE hard stun in the game. They do have stealth scan that I already mentioned, with almost permanent uptime that also slows everyone in it. Then they have Oil Slick to further slow and debuff your accuracy. And if you really want to be an asshole, you can even still run Neural Trigger for a 2-second route every 13 seconds. On the side of utility, I also rank them 5 out of 5, which puts Shield Tech Tank into S tier with a total of 21 out of 23 points. Next, Immortal, also known as Juggernaut Tank. Juggernaut has the best overall DPS out of all the tanks. It benefits from its single target rotation also having huge cleave damage without really giving up anything because of how Crushing Blow works. Juggernaut, compared to PowerTech, is better in ranged matches, however it's also very strong in melee games. When it comes to damage, I would rank Juggernaut 9 out of 10. It is still quite oppressive and can compete with some of the DPS specs in the game, even after the latest nerfs. Survivability, however, is not the best. While its passive mitigation is not that bad, you do not get as many free stats as the PowerTech. You do have good defensive abilities, but they are on a very long cooldown, so once you use them, you are not that much tankier than a DPS Jug. That means Juggernaut Tank can be vulnerable to being tank tunneled, particularly by disciplines such as Madness, Pyro, or Lethality. So on the side of survivability, it's not the best, it's not the worst. I would rate them 5 out of 8. Juggernaut Tank's utility is very strong. They are the only class in the game with 2 4-second hard stuns. They do have Force Push and Intercede to peel for teammates. They can also spec into Intimidating Roar for another CC, but then you lose Mad Dash, so that nerfs your mobility quite a lot and you are even more vulnerable to being tank tunneled. Overall, the utility is good, but not quite as overpowered as PT, 4 out of 5 points. And that puts Juggernaut Tank into A tier with a total of 18 points. Moving on to Darkness, aka the Assassin Tank. Assassin overall has the lowest DPS out of all of the tanks. Now don't get me wrong, they can do great in an AoE stack fest, but so can the other 2 tanks. And Assassin has a little bit worse single target damage. However, damage is not its weak side. I would still rank it 7 out of 10 for damage. When it comes to survivability, however, Assassin falls a little flat. It does not have the same mitigation that a PT has, and their defensive cooldowns are really not that great for PvP, with the exception of Force Cloak, which makes Darkness Assassins the best node defenders in the game, being a stealth class and having the quite overpowered 2 Cloaks tactical. However, in a Zerg, Assassin Tank is just not that survivable. Because if you have to vanish out, then you're not really guarding anyone, you're not peeling, you're just hiding, not fighting. So when it comes to survivability, I rate them 3 out of 8. And on the side of utility, they do have the cooldown reduction on Taunt, so you can have that up quite frequently. They do have a pull, and of course the slow on depredating bolts. Mounting Darkness, aka their puddle that they get when they pop deflection for reducing force and tech damage. But overall the utility is not as good as the other 2 tanks. 3 out of 5. So with a total of 13 points, I currently rank Darkness Assassin in C tier. Alright, now let's look at the healers, and we're starting with Bodyguard Mercenary. Bodyguard has great healing both for single target and AoE. It is also quite easy to play. You simply use Progressive Scan, Call to Missile on cooldown, keep Call to Shell on people. The Splashing Shells talent is insane in an AoE game, and even though I am not a great healer, I did 26k HPS with it, so the healing is clearly very, very strong. Perfect 10 out of 10 for healing output. On the side of survivability, Bodyguard just has so many cooldowns that you need to go through if you're a DPS trying to kill them. They can take Super Colto because your mobility is not that good anyway, it's more of a stand and fight kind of class. You have Energy Shield that comes with the Trauma Regulator's heal. You do have your Reflect and a 5% passive damage reduction from the tree. Overall, Bodyguard is clearly the tankiest out of all of the healers, 8 out of 8 points. On the side of utility, it is good, but not the best. You do have Concussion Missile for a single target CC, you do have your Knockback, and Electronet that you can use to peel or secure a kill, 3 out of 5 points just for that. So with a total of 21 out of possible 23 points, I put Bodyguard into S tier. Next up, Corruption, aka Sorc Heal. Now those are everywhere in Warzones, they are by far the most popular healer, and that is because they are strong, fun to play, and very mobile. Their heal output is good, although not as good as Bodyguard, especially when it comes to AoE, particularly if your team is very spread out. Still, I would rank them a solid 8 out of 10. On the side of survivability, Sorc Heal is very, very mobile. They have strong defensive cooldowns in Phase Walk, Barrier, and Cloud Mind, and you can run Bubble Mass, which is quite annoying against melees. But overall, they're not as tanky as Bodyguard, and if you are ever out of position or you get pulled, you are in trouble, because 2 melees is really too much to heal through, and once those big cooldowns are down, you are toast. Still, overall, I would say good survivability, 6 out of 8 points. On the side of utility, Corruption is king. Pull is quite overpowered if used correctly. Overload, Knockback Root, which is very strong against melee. Bubble Mass, again another thing that is really strong against multiple melees. And they still have a hard stun, whereas other classes lost it or need to spec into it. 5 out of 5 points for utility for a total of 19 points. Puts Corruption just below S tier and on the top of A tier. Last but also least, Medicine Operative. Gone are the days of Rise of the Hutt Cartel, where operatives were ruling the Warzones and arenas. These days, the only thing they have going for them is their still great AoE heal, with probes, nanotech, and call to waves. Unfortunately, their single target is quite bad, and this is the first reason why healing operatives are just not good right now and you barely even see them. In the current meta, it's really important to have strong single target heal to keep your tank alive or save your DPS if they're being focused by 2 enemies. So while Medicine can still compete for top HPS in an AoE game, the lack of single target heals makes it so overall I can only rate its healing output 7 out of 10 right now. However, their big problem is survivability. Once evasion is down, you are a sitting duck. The only thing you have left is your CC breaker and vanish, and once those are gone, you are dead in the water. 2 out of 8 for survivability, they are the worst by far. And when it comes to utility, unfortunately, they also don't bring much to the table. They can't take Infiltrate anymore, since you really need Holo Traverse for mobility. You can't really take Hard Stun either, because you need long evasion to have any chance to survive. They don't have a knockback, they don't have a pull. It's really sad times for operative healers, 1 out of 5 for utility. So with a total of 10 out of 23 possible points, I can only put Medicine Operative in D tier right now. So there you have it guys, that's the tier list. Maybe one question that people might ask is, what if I play full mitigation tank? And to that I would say, well, delete your character, you are ruining the game. But in all seriousness, I think Skank Tank is currently stronger. If you're playing full mitigation, then I would put all of those specs down one tier, because damage is just so important in the current game. That's it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to leave it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.